Hi, everyone. Welcome to this podcast today, this Future Finance Talks podcast, which is a series of in-depth conversations with the CEOs, innovators, shaping the next generation of financial technology in accounting and digital transformation. Each episode explores how cutting-edge leaders are redefining the way businesses manage their money, finances, data, and growth in the digital age, and which really kind of empowers smarter finance, which is our mission as a business. Because if we're creating smarter finance functions, that's enabling the business to make better decision making, unlocking profit, and therefore securing jobs, ecosystems, and supply chains, and ultimately having a big impact on the economy. So I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Henrik Grim, the CEO and founder of Mimo, with me today. Hi, Henrik.
Hi there. Hi, nice to meet you. And thanks for having me, I should say, rather than nice to
Yeah,
meet you.
no worries. No, thanks for joining us, Henrik. Henrik, for people that don't know, today I'd love to talk a bit about Mimo, your business, how you're helping accounting firms and business leaders. But for anybody that doesn't know Mimo, would you mind giving us a quick snapshot into the business?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, thanks a lot for having me. And just as a quick background, Mimo, we essentially help accountants do more and help their clients do better. And we've essentially built an end-to-end system of work, is what we call it, helping accountants to do two main things. One, speed up month-end and bookkeeping processes using AI with a product we call Mimo Associate. And then two, offer payments as a service and cash flow advisory with two products we call Mimo Pay and Mimo Flex. And so we work with accounts, bookkeeping, and outsourced finance teams in mid to large firms, mainly across the UK. And we essentially help them serve more clients with higher quality service in less time spent. And, to comment on what makes us unique, I think the main uniqueness really comes from how Mimo Associate in particular sort of shifts how outsourcing and accounts team really work day to day using AI. We've gone from this setup where teams really have single individuals sort of run through these linear processes to close books, right? Going anywhere from chasing clients for documents to processing those and reconciling accounts to then manually identify adjustments and managing schedules, and always depending on that one single person that knows that particular client. And if that person is out of office, work stands still. What we've built is essentially a system that have AI agents take on administrative tasks across those workflows and then sharing proposed next steps for teams to either accept or dismiss. And these agents, based on your feedback, they learn over time and capture that client context, freeing up a lot of capacity for your team to spend more time on higher value work, like building deeper client relationships or do more advisory. So I think that flip of the workflow is really the biggest uniqueness.
So how easy is it, Henrik? We're hearing more and more about agents and agentic AI, and it seems inevitable that these agents are going to become kind of everything we touch in our kind of business world, in our personal lives as well. I was only at the weekend, I was looking into OpenClaw and what that's doing and stuff. But
Yeah.
how easy is it for an accountant or for a practice owner to kind of get in there, start using the software? How easy is it to set up the agents? How do you set up the agents? Like, how does all this stuff, how does it all work?
I think the hard part is really if you're trying to set all of that up for yourself, there is a lot of complexity, right? There is a lot of complexity for you to figure out, first of all, how to create an agent and connect it to your data and share that data back and forth with that agent. Obviously, what we've built is really an orchestration layer that helps you get in, look at your data, get suggested next steps from these agents, and you either accept or dismiss. So we've sort of created the environment for you as a user to really quickly get a sense for what workflows could look like if you're getting support from AI. We've also focused a lot on making it easy to deploy across your current tech stack. So you don't have to rip out what you already have. For example, we set on top of whatever ledger or document capture system you might be using already. And you can sort of layer this on top because the ledger is always the source of truth. So I would say that, yes, there's a lot of complexity. And a lot of our job is to package that complexity to make the user experience easy and delightful. Also in the cases where AI sometimes gets it wrong, right? Because it will. and we will help you identify that and correct it over time. And so I think, yes, it is a complex world. What you need is essentially a layer that helps you in your context and in your workflows take the next step. So this is Mimo Associate. I'll very quickly walk you through the 4 modules, essentially an end-to-end month-end close with Mimo Associate. And sort of, there's obviously a lot more depth, but I'll try to be a little bit efficient. First step, chasing documents from clients. The way this usually works is you go to Xero, download an unreconciled transaction list, you put that in the email, send it off to your clients. They never come back with everything. You start the back and forth pinging. It's hard for team members and managers to know what the status is of a particular client. What we do is we give you an always up-to-date source of truth where you can choose either when you're asking to send emails or reminders or set up automatic reminders and the client gets chased. So for this particular one, I'm closing the month of January. At the bottom, I have a list of unreconciled transactions. I add one-off or recurring requests like bank statements that you want to collect from clients. And then on a certain cadence, you'll be sending emails to clients outlining what's still missing, right? So this is what's missing from them to be able to close the month. Now, they can either just respond to this email or they can go to a portal, but they can drop it all in bulk, and then we will do the sorting. The AI will do the sorting, attaching the documents to the right transaction, and your team then goes into either auto-publish or review it. Now, as those documents come through, they get removed from this list, right? So that's the to-do list for your client, and you will always know what's still outstanding. Now, with Mimo Associate, we're flexible. So you can either use our scanner, or you can forward it to another scanner if you're already well set up there. If you want to use ours, you will find that it's sort of just is what you expect from a modern document capture software nowadays. It's quick, especially when doing bulk processing. It doesn't only pull the data fields, but it also reads the invoice, looks at it, and tries to identify, for example, potential adjustments and more. So in this case, still processing. There we go. Now, we obviously do exactly what you expect, but in particular, I'll just show you, we do line items, obviously, we do pretty much everything you need. We're highlighting here, showing you that AI has identified that this is probably a prepayment that you want to adjust for. We prepare schedule for you. You can publish these straight away from here if you like to, but I'll sort of keep those because I want to show you the other way into adjustments, but that's just very quickly on our scanner. Most teams start their review process in this view. So what we give you here is essentially a written variance analysis. Up top, many teams are now starting to use this in commentary for their clients. So this is AI generated based on what the client knows about this company. So we are even having some that are feeding this AI with transcripts from calls with their clients, such that these get more and more relevant. Now, at the bottom, we do variance analysis per account code. So an actual against a reference date, either last month, same month last year, or a budget. And again, we give you some commentary on what's going on across each account code, but we also give you these review buttons. So these review buttons highlight potential errors. So whether it's a bookkeeping error, you've coded something to the wrong account, where one account code goes from large to zero, another one goes from zero to large, something's off, or potential adjustments you might have missed. So in this case, it's proposing that you have a missed expense accrual for your bank fee, right? So you can either view that here, or you can go to the overview of all proposed adjustments. Here's that one password prepayment I showed you.
Yep.
Gives you a little bit of context on why you might want to adjust for this. But in particular, does it also for accrual. So here's that bank fee where you don't have any transactions for this particular month, but you might want to accrue for it. Similarly, your office cleaning service. And so the whole idea is that you can sort of either accept this, add them to your schedule, or you can dismiss. You can say, don't accrue for anything less than £100. You dismiss it, gets it to the memory of the AI, which I can show you. And the beauty is when you onboard a new client to Mimo, you upload existing schedules. So you would have and keep everything in here, such that if you do accounts production, for example, exporting to Silverfin or in CCH or Caseware, you simply just click export and you're done. So that is sort of end-to-end, you having gone through chasing documents, scanning them, processing, and then doing final review. When you're happy and all the red buttons are gone, you can share it with clients and you're done.
Wow.
And then on a per client basis, we're doing this sort of tracker. So you can sort of show, hey, for this client and across all my clients, this is the status of where they are in their closing process. and a bunch more in there. But I'll sort of pause there for now.
This part of the workflow, what sort of time savings are people seeing?
One example is we had one client, so one user actually the other day, because we were doing a study on this, he ran his prepayment adjustment workflow as he had always been, which was hundreds, I think it was 150 transactions that he had to go through. It took him a little bit more than an hour to go through that, right? To identify potential prepayments. And then he started to post all of those prepayments into the ledger, manage the schedules. That essentially, when he did it through Mimo, it took him 5 minutes to review. So he had 10 of these that he reviewed, he accepted, and then he was done. So it was, only there for one particular client. That was, a 95% time saving, whatever it is. And he's managing, I think, 20 clients. So obviously it scales quite nicely. And that's just for one part of the workflow. So if you add all of this up, we're seeing that it has a pretty disruptive actually impact on these teams.
What would you say with the guys with the product that you're working on at the moment? What would you say you are doubling down on? Like, what's kind of really important for you guys?
We're seeing, to your point, like we're seeing AI be able to execute increasingly complex tasks. And that's just going one direction. Like it's going to get smarter, right? The core workflows of accountants is usually about sort of collecting, interpreting, and entering data into a system of record, a ledger, right? Your zeros, your QBOs, and then analyzing it to sort of try to draw some information or sort of insights from that. Now, if you think about this complexity, just like you said, like trying to do that yourself with a bunch of different agents that are doing all these different tasks, what you really need is essentially a coordinating layer on top that helps you take action. A little bit like what Claude Cowork is doing now in generalist sort of business sort of tasks, right? And that is essentially what we're building. So we call it the system of work that essentially allows you to steer these agents across different workflows. And so we've started obviously in the core service delivery of up-to-date financials to your clients. And then beyond that, there's a bunch more workflows that we're expanding into. But I think the core insight or the core exciting thing is that coordination layer.
And how do you see the future, Henrik, with agents and AI, no doubt helping accountants be more efficient, more streamlined, not doing so much of the transactional work and data entry? And do you think the role of the accountant is going to change?
No, I think we're speaking with our clients and our users about this. Like I actually pretty consistently, already at the beginning of our relationships, we typically ask them, what would you do with more of that time once you free it up, right? To make sure we understand that properly. And, usually one of two things, usually they go hand in hand. One is obviously scaling and being able to take on potentially more clients if you're in a growth mode as a firm. But then the second point is having more meaningful relationships with your clients, spending more time on not only understanding the pure numbers, but also understanding the people behind it and the reason for those numbers looking as they are. And then bringing, whether you call that insights or advisory or just deeper relationship, that is where I think we are going. And I do think it sort of shifts the type of profile or the type of work that you will be doing as an accountant, a few years from now. And I think we've sort of had that for a few years, right? It sort of happens with every shift of technology. You've had similar developments, right? Whether it's from, going from cloud and starting to introduce the OCR technology and more automation. Obviously that shifted a lot. And now we're seeing this sort of continuation of that change. So I'm not sure, I don't think AI is really the thing. I think it's just a natural evolving sort of shift of the role of accountants.
Yeah, me too. Completely agree. Brilliant. Henrik, thank you so much for your time today. That was really interesting and really insightful to see what you guys are working on at Mimo. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Mimo Associate in a bit more detail. And Henrik, we've got some stuff that we're working on together. We've got the AI Summit, virtual summit in May. And we've got the Leaders in Accountancy Summit in June. So please look out for those emails and those websites. Will be going live very soon. We're very excited. We're already lining up the speaker base and the agenda for that. And we want to get deep into this stuff. We want to make the sessions as practical as possible and to give away as much insight and thought leadership as possible as well. And we've got some excellent speakers lined up. Henrik, thank you so much for your time today. And good luck with everything. And we'll catch up soon.
You too. Thanks a lot, Dan, for having me.
Bye.
Cheers.